In this week's episode, we talk about companies doing customizable card game things inside of video games and trying to make those work in ways that they may or may not work. Check it out.
This week in our collective heads, wanna put an old rumor to bed. Stereotype that you've all heard, how we're all just angry video game nerds. Most of us have actual jobs, kids and families and cats and dogs, yeah. This week in our collective heads, this week in our collective heads.
Welcome to This Week in Our Collective Heads. I'm Kevin, and I'm joined as always by Patrick, the man who is stumped and can't think of anything good to say about me. We're here to give you this week's video game news as we do every Sunday, and then roll it out to podcast services and YouTube on Mondays and various topics thereafter. Yeah. So there is a whole crap ton of news this week.
Yeah, some weeks we have a little bit, but now this week is too much.
And before we cover that, I would just like to point out, this is TWIOCH, episode 90 freaking 9.
Yes.
This is pretty awesome.
We've been doing this almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy to our humble beginnings of a lamp that was in frame during the first episode.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was like, I really want to get good lighting.
Yeah, and sitting behind a desk that was like made for a typewriter, so that was fun.
Because we wanted something to put stuff on.
Yeah, but I think that we've made a lot of strides, and we'll talk about all this next week when we're actually celebrating a big number and moving into 3 digits.
Yes,
and then the week after that, we get to do our first. What are they called? 101 it's the same forwards and backwards.
Yeah. As in palindrome.
Palindrome, yes.
Yep.
So yeah, lots of exciting things in our future and exciting things in video games this week. And we'll start, as we do every week that they let us, with the backwards compatible games.
Yeah. So every week, almost every week, Major Nelson tweets out these new backwards compatible games, meaning old games that now you can play on your Xbox One, which I think is really cool, but no one talks about them. So we do.
Yes.
First one was Deadliest Warrior.
Mm-hmm. And I actually saw this show on Spike, and I stopped watching when they did the mob versus the Yakuza and put the mob on top. I was like, no, I'm sorry. No. The Yakuza wins that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm curious how this plays out. I don't know anything about gameplay or anything like that, but I do kind of like the premise.
I like the premise because you're putting things together that normally you would never see go against each other, which I think
like
is
For Honor.
Cool. Like For Honor, yeah. This is not going to work, but let's do it anyways. We also got Disney's Bolt, which is the Disney movie, which with John Travolta and Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
And
was that the one with the hamster?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the only good part of the movie.
I actually liked that guy. Like I watched his highlights.
Yeah.
And
he's one of the only good parts of the movie, and if I'm not mistaken, he's one of the animators as well.
Really?
So it's one of those like situations where he's like, I do voices too, and they threw him in there.
Interesting. Yeah. The same thing happened with Hellblade. I heard about the person who voices the protagonist for Hellblade is like one of their animators or something, and they're like, here, sit in this booth, do this voice, and we'll just kind of get a feel for this. And then they're like, oh.
They didn't tell her that they decided to use her as the permanent actress until it was basically too late. They'd already modeled everything after her, and then they brought in a fitness coach and a nutritionist to get her in shape, the proper shape to do all the rest of the motion capture and everything for the game. Because she was just like, okay, I'm going to do this really good performance,
right?
But it wasn't like, everyone's going to see this now. So
that's
that was
cool.
Really cool for an amateur to be able to be given that is really cool.
My third favorite voice in video games is an amateur. She's only done The Maiden in Black, and she wasn't the Emerald Herald.
It was the Firekeeper in Dark Souls 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the doll.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the only 3 credits she has.
She's done, which is
I love
surprising.
Her voice.
Yeah, I mean, I like her voice. I think part of it is because she's not that she's not a talented actress. No offense to her. Like they chose her.
It sets up a certain dynamic and a certain tone that they're going for with the way that you interact with the world, which is consistent across all the various things.
And it works in that.
Right. And then the second to last one is Fighting Vipers.
Yes.
So please tell me about Fighting Vipers.
So Fighting Vipers was an interesting game. This actually came out. You remember like in the late 90s when like the with the Dodge Viper was like the big thing. There was a huge push for the Dodge Viper.
Well, so it's still pretty high on my list.
It's still a cool car. So this was going to be a tie-in that actually was done through Burger King, where you had different Vipers that you can upgrade, Dodge Vipers, that you can upgrade in different ways, and then they fight in a very like not like Transformers where they like turn into robots and fight, but like the cars just kind of get up and they have like little tiny legs and they try to fight.
Okay, so it's the Daytona car that was in what was that? You know the one I'm talking about?
No.
There was a fighting game that had a Daytona car that got up on its rear wheels and beat you up with its wheels. I swear that's a real thing. He's talking about nonsense. He's making up a game, but I swear the Daytona car was a real fighter in a game.
I just pictured like little tiny stick figure arms and legs, like the animation wasn't even done.
I mean,
But yeah, if you haven't watched our show before, if we run across a backwards compatible game we are not familiar with, we decide to make it up on the fly because some of these games are known, some of them are lesser known games. We want to give them both love. So we also got Batman Arkham Origins, which say what you want about Batman Arkham Origins, I think it's a pretty good game. I think that the biggest the bad taste it left in some people's mouth is due to the lack of Mark Hamill. We've got Troy Baker, who came in to do the voice of Joker, which I don't think he doesn't do exactly Hamill's Joker. He does a version of Hamill's Joker, which is what you should do in that situation. I thought it was a decent game. I think it just left a bad taste in people's mouths because it wasn't Arkham City and Arkham City and Arkham Asylum were so good that this was just kind of meh. That looks ridiculous.
This is I have a picture right here. I'm sorry we can't pop it up on screen, but there was a Sega Fighter game. So if you look up Daytona Sega Fighter, it's real.
It's apparently on.
It's a real thing.
Another thing that's real. Onto more video game news though is For Honor. So the For Honor has had a lot of issues with player drop off and everything. And part of that due to how the game is actually set up and what you can and cannot do in the game and the limitations. But
there was also a substantial thing like right when it came out. There were only like 2 characters that were really viable because they could stun lock.
Yes.
The heavier, slower moving characters.
Exactly. But this is actually free this weekend. So if you're watching right now, then it's free. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's not, unfortunately. Again, if follow us on Twitter, shameless plug, follow us on Twitter and Facebook for that reason, because some of this news we can't get out to you in a prompt manner. It takes a while to do video game news and to do all this editing, so I want to make sure you guys stay up to speed. So follow us on Twitter and Facebook.
Yes, and in a similar vein, Battlefield 1 also moved to EA Access, which has been a really impressive. I've liked the way that they've kind of rolled that out, and they've kept the games fresh and in a fairly timely manner. Battlefield 1 is still a fairly new game. And people seem to like it. So, EA Access keeps on rolling out stuff.
Which I think this again really helps people who, budget-wise or time-wise, they didn't get to play a game because a lot of games come out all at the same time. So I think it's fantastic that this is on EA Access now because EA Access needs more, especially titles like this. This is a relatively new title. We also got some news on Shadow of War. And there was some controversy about microtransactions in the game, and the developer saying we wanted to add ways for people to kind of speed up, some of their process, but you'd still be able to enjoy the game if you're playing single player without doing this. And the loot boxes that they were referring to so it's going to be for the single player game, and if it's balanced right, I don't have too much of a problem with this, because if it's extra aesthetic things, if it it saves me for grinding out a little bit and gets me a little bit of a level, but they can do that in a way that balances out. So let's say
it's really going to come down to once it actually starts rolling out. But there is the fear that this is something, because when this first rolled out, WB Games, WB Games is kind of hit or miss.
Yeah.
They're not a reliable publisher yet, and a lot of times it seems like they don't get games, and so
especially PC ports.
right. But this does kind of feel, particularly when it was announced.
Yeah.
This does feel like it was a command handed down on high onto the developers and
Totally.
made them put this in there, and so. I don't know how much of a pushback they would be able to do in order to say, okay, that we can put that in there, but we don't want to mess with our game.
Yeah.
And is there a WB executive who's saying, no, we want you to tweak this a little bit, make the game a little bit more grindy.
Yeah.
That is a possibility. That's the fear.
That I won't like. My hopes is that they balance it out. So doing these type of loot boxes will give you, a little boost every now and then, but it's not game breaking. For instance, if you're playing Demon Souls and you could pay to have 5,000 souls in the game. Well, that's going to be really great at first. Yeah. And then it's not going to help your level, but it may help you get some more grass and some more arrows.
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay, this helps a little bit, but it's not going to break the game once I get to level 15, 20, or whatever.
So it'll a lot of it'll depend on how random this stuff is, and plus the thing is that what you're buying is actually loot boxes, so you're paying for random.
Yes.
And no, I don't like. If I was gonna get 5,000 souls, if I was going to get 100 to 10,000 souls, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not paying for that.
You're gambling at that point. I think if they make sure that you at least get one rare of whatever commodity. I don't even know what's in the boxes yet, but if they
it's legendary armor, and cosmetics, and then like stuff for the orc defense things. Like you can get, because the captains are going to be the same. I'll talk about this once the game comes out. Like there's a bunch of stuff that's in there.
Sure.
And then on the reverse side, the previous Gran Turismo game, Gran Turismo 6, had microtransactions, and a lot of people went, "We're not really about that. Maybe don't."
I don't think it works.
Yeah,
for that.
Yeah, and so the next Gran Turismo game, Gran Turismo Sport. Is coming out, and it's not going to have that. You're just going to grind out and get the games, or get the cars.
Get the cars, yeah. Which I think is good. I think that there are certain games that, like with that game, you need to get better. You need to progress. You need to either upgrade your car, or get better cars.
Yeah,
part of that is it helps in the learning curve. Yeah,
and that's the thing I was going to mention, is because like if you start and you go into one of the higher end cars, you're just going to fly everywhere.
Yes.
And so being able to slowly graduate, and as your skill progresses, you get the more powerful cars that require a finer touch.
Yeah. Also, there's not as much gameplay, and there's no story in these kind of games. So you're taking half of the game away, as opposed to speeding up a tedious task to get healing items or to grind out crafting materials. Like there's a difference in that. You're literally taking out part of the gameplay, which I don't agree with.
Yeah. But if you want to make your own gameplay, Mega Maker is a thing that we found out about, and so basically it's Mario Maker, but for Mega Man. And yes, please give me that, because like they have different rule sets, and who gets to come in and do all this stuff, and it just looks amazing.
Yeah, it does.
Because the original 6, they released the second collection set thing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But 1 through 6. Yeah. 1 through 6, and then the X series are the Mega Mans that I really love.
And I like this also, like you mentioned about the balancing. You can specifically, if you have a specific Mega Man that you prefer out of those, specific in regards to physics and damage and whatever, and sprites, you can kind of balance it out based on that. You can make your favorite version of Mega Man. Was Mega Man X involved in this too, or no? It's just
8-bit.
Yeah, it's just 8-bit. That's what I thought. But you can, if you don't like that, the older graphics like that, you can get a little bit of an upgrade. I think this shows what Nintendo could be doing, or Capcom, I should say, could be doing at this point. Because this was on Switch. This and Mario Maker need to be on Switch.
Absolutely.
There's so many people who would play these. They need to be put on Switch, and it shows that market. I'm just worried that this is going to take the same type of route that AM2R did.
Yeah. I can see that, but the AM2R guy, nice segue.
Yep.
The AM2R guy actually got hired recently.
Yeah.
And that was really exciting. He's going to work on the Ori sequel, which is Ori and the Blind Forest was the first one.
Correct.
Ori and something wispy.
Something like that.
Something wispy was the second one. But I mean that is a platformy kind of exploration puzzle based thing, and so I'm about that, and I like that idea. Yeah. So
I just worried. I mean, like, so worried about the Mega Man one. I'm very happy in regards to the AM2R developer, because that shows that if someone has talent and they pour their heart into something, that the way the internet works, you can get noticed.
Yeah, they're developers who are paying attention to stuff like that and are not jerks.
Yeah.
So far, like, honestly, if Capcom was doing things with Mega Man, we wouldn't need this.
No, we wouldn't.
But we kind of do now.
Yeah.
And so if Capcom, I don't think this will happen, but if Capcom came to the people who were doing this and were like, hey, that's actually a really good idea. Can we just let you do that?
Yeah.
And like to have that, like you said, to have that on Switch would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think give them money. I mean, they're doing work, and if the work is good, then throw money at it.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it should be.
So right now, Mega Maker is a thing. Absolutely go check it out, and if you can hook up a controller to your system,
then do it.
Play some Mega Man.
So speaking of retro stuff, UFO 50 was announced / has been announced for a while. Revealed, from the Spelunky developer. And
well, it's a collection of developers, because it's him,
okay.
It's him, the Downwell guy, and like 3 other guys that haven't moved their stuff. Because honestly, if it's on PC, I vaguely know about it, and it's when it comes to consoles, that's when I'm, paying attention, because that's where I can play it.
Yeah.
Maybe someday I'll get a big beefy PC and I'll play those games too. But yeah, so this is they created a storyline around a pretend developer who worked in the 80s, and they created 50 games.
Yeah. And
they're saying that these are going to be full games, and honestly, when you think about it, the amount of time that it would take to build Castlevania, or the time that it would take to build Mega Man 2 now, is so much shorter and easier than it used to be.
Shorter and build,
and on top
design
of that,
is a different story, but
right. but the ability to just put everything in and fewer restrictions on everything. They've set up kind of their own restrictions, just like Shovel Knight's developer, Yacht Club did.
In regards to color palette and
things like
size,
that. And so, but they're saying that all 50 games are going to be like, they could be full-length games of that time.
That's really cool.
And so, I will absolutely buy the crap out of this.
Yeah.
So
I think it shows that graphics aren't always king.
Yeah,
graphics aren't always king, and I think that fake storyline is kind of cool in regards to that too.
And I'm also looking forward to seeing, because like you were talking about Mossmouth and his ability to create a system that made levels for him.
Yes,
I'm interested to see how well he can make levels.
Oh, I am too. I think
we'll see.
It's a different it's a different type of creativity. So.
Absolutely.
It could be great, though. Speaking of creatively creating things, so Dragon Quest Builders 2 is going to come out for PS4 and Switch, which I really loved Dragon Quest Builders, and I think it's cool having this on Switch. Playing on a Vita was great, but to be able to play this on Switch and PS4, I think is fantastic.
I'm interested in getting this for the PS4 and maybe letting the girls play it. Also, Underwater.
Yeah,
I don't know if this ever happened, because my game bugged out in a way that apparently nobody else's did.
Mine
and I couldn't complete the second quest of the second world, and so I just stopped there.
Yeah,
and that was a bummer, because I was having a lot of fun, and I feel like that this could be my first action RPG type thing.
Yeah,
and I think the girls could enjoy that.
I think it would be. You mean my first action RPG as in something that's a starter for kids and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you meant your first action RPG. I'm like, no, you've played... Kevin, you've played...
Literally...
You played action RPGs.
Yeah, a couple of them.
I think that it would be great for the girls to play this as well, because it teaches different principles, similar to how Minecraft teaches principles in regards to building.
Well, so. and it even has aspects like, you know, corpse runs and stuff.
Yeah.
Like there are penalties when you die, which is how video games most of the time work.
It's kind of how they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Speaking of penalties when you die, Darkest Dungeon.
Yay!
Coming out to iPad, which I absolutely love. Kevin, you're still playing this game.
I'm playing it again.
Yeah.
Because I restarted when they did the Radiant Quest.
Yes.
Which makes everything move a lot quicker. And going through it again, and so it's been available on PC and on consoles and everything, and so for this to come to the iPad is really exciting. They also teased that it could be coming to Switch, and honestly, this because this is not about, you know, the gameplay mechanics are not reliant on a controller. I think that this is a perfect port for a touchscreen.
Oh, I think so.
Because you touch the skills. It's about what's happening on the screen, and you're influencing it. Your strategy, that's removed from the actual mechanics. And so I think that this will work out really, really well. Highly recommended.
I agree, especially in a way that platformers and those kind of things don't translate. They only get money out of people who want nostalgia at that point.
Basically.
So, speaking of nostalgia, we got so there was a competition back in the day, the Nintendo World Championships, and it's back again. So they brought this back a handful of times, 2015, 2016, 2015, now 2017, and you'll be able to play the Nintendo World Championships just like back in the day, and you can see if you are a superstar of the old school games and such.
So the qualifiers are going to be at various locations. I think Dallas, LA, New York, Miami, maybe somewhere else. But yeah, check and see if that's something that you might be able to go. I also love that they kept the logo.
I love
because
it too.
the logo is really, we are cool 30 years ago, and I like that because they do have that history to draw on, and so if you've ever wanted to live the Wizard, the RPG in real life, this could be your chance.
You could do that. I never got to. I mean, I played a Nintendo World Championship reproduction card, but I played that like a year and a half, 2 years ago. I mean, so I didn't get to play it back in the day.
I played the Blockbuster Donkey Kong Country collect bananas, and I was in the top 10.
Nice.
For where I was living, so I was proud of that.
Nice,
which is not enough to get me anywhere, but I was still proud of it.
Yeah. Something to be proud of though is Zelda, and that's a really bad segue. But I love Zelda Breath of the Wild, and so they've introduced a new update to Zelda where if you use the Switch's news apps, then you will get additional food and other resources.
Right. It's kind of a weird thing because you have to click on the news story about Zelda and then use that news story to launch the game Zelda. So it's kind of weird, but it's designed to make you think about the news as they're presenting it, and I can appreciate that. And then they give you like an apple or meat or something. It falls out of the sky like the treasure chest did when those were set up as in-game rewards.
Yeah.
And so the Breath of the Wild Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs crossover is a real thing.
Basically. And someone was saying in here you can like stack it up.
Oh yeah.
Like and do more
like
of them.
cheese wheels?
I don't know. No, I meant like stack them as in or they were trying to get it to, and it has some type of limit, but they were trying to get it to launch the game, pause it, go back, do it again, over and over and over again, and add more and more and more food. Apparently, I don't know if it worked. I was trying to find video of that though, and I may try to get video myself because that does sound funny. And completely unrelated news though, and things that I don't find funny. Valve announced a card game because everyone needs a customizable card game, a digital customizable card game now.
Well, see, you and he's being really nice because the way that Valve announced this was, we're announcing a new game, and people went,
yes,
as the internet does, and they were like, it's a Dota collectible card game, and the internet went back to whatever it was doing before because
no one cares.
I mean, like the CCG has become a thing that's just like, it seems like everybody's doing it. I don't know if you're interested in the card games that are coming out, if you can tell the difference between them. I tried out the Bethesda, and I was like, yeah, this is not Hearthstone, kind of seems like Hearthstone, kind of seems like Magic. Yep, that's a card. Next.
Yeah.
And so they've got that. Gwent is the one that really stands out because that is a very different dynamic.
It's very different, but it's so simple.
Yeah. And I understand that these are probably easy to make, cheap to produce, or whatever, but we don't need any more.
We don't.
We have plenty.
We don't. Yeah. Gwent is the checkers of the customizable card games. I'm sorry. Like it's checkers with a little bit of like chaos to it, but like
and pretty graphics.
It's very. Yeah, but it's so simple. The rules are so simple. The gameplay is so simple. Yeah. There aren't a lot of tricks. They have tricks, but your opponents get tricks too. So it's not like it's a real trick.
Yeah.
There's not as much strategy in regards to it, and so I'm sorry, I looked down on it. I'm like, oh, you played that? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
I did miss a segue though because we were talking about how well Darkest Dungeon will translate to iPad, and Severed is coming to the Switch. And as far as I know, this is the first one that's only playable in handheld.
In handheld on the Switch, okay.
Yeah, because there would be no way to play this without the touchscreen.
That makes sense.
I really enjoyed this game. I bought it right when it came out on the Vita, and and they've put it in other places, and this game is really something special. I wish that they would give you full freedom of motion instead of having to scoot up a little bit at a time and go like that. But that does kind of give me nostalgia for for some of the mazes that we would have back in that Windows screensaver with the everything. Like there were games at that time there was like one room.
Bard's Tale.
Bard's Tale.
Move forward. Okay, you go up one square.
Yeah.
Like every single time. Yeah.
Which is also available on Vita for $5.
Not bad. Not bad.
So yeah.
Speaking of things that are available, Res Infinite is going to be coming out to PC and Oculus.
Is out.
Is out? I didn't know it was already out. Okay, right now. So you can get it right now on Oculus if you so feel to do so. Which I think it's a really cool VR because to me, it is so 80s. It is so look how great these graphics are when it's very vector based. It's Lawnmower Man is what it is, which I have no problem with. I think it's really cool. It's a really cool design element to do something like that. Obviously way more advanced than Lawnmower Man, but the idea being that vector base and a lot of negative space. It's really cool.
I also love the chaotic way because I haven't had a chance to play it. I've had a chance to watch gameplay in VR, and it's just mind blowing how wonderful that is. The thing that I'm really hoping happens, and this will I will go on record and say that this is the thing that will convince me to buy PlayStation VR. Is if Housemarque makes a game for it. I would buy a VR system to play Housemarque games.
To me, I think that the VR for PlayStation, I think I'm intrigued by the VR aspect of it, but I really like the fact that you can play games off the TV. Mm-hmm. And that is kind of cool to me, where you can really isolate yourself and play a game. Like if it's a scary game or whatever it is, you can pop that on, put some headphones on, and completely immerse yourself in a game that doesn't even have to be VR. And I think that is an aspect that would make me possibly want to get it. Speaking of possibly wanting to get things, PlayStation 5.0 update has come out.
Yes.
And the firmware update in regards to that, the biggest thing for this is going to allow for 1080p, 60 frames per second streaming, which is why I'm buying one. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be selling my PlayStation 4 and upgrading to the Pro. I have a 2 terabyte hard drive, so I got to figure out how I'm going to swap that. Because I'm going to keep that hard drive. So I got to figure out the best way to swap that, but I'll be upgrading. There are multiple reasons why I was wanting to. Some of the developers are adding things like Neo in regards to the gameplay. You can play 1080p 60 frames. So the upgrades in regards to that, more developers taking advantage of that hardware, I think is really cool.
Absolutely.
So and this is a big reason because I can play all my PlayStation 4 games. You can play your PlayStation 4 games and stream them on Twitch and not be limited to 720, because both the Xbox One and the PlayStation both limit this because it's additional processing that the unit is doing. It's not as simple as just send it out. There's additional processing involved to that. I was trying to explain that to my nephew, and he was just like, "Why don't you just stream off your Switch?"
Yeah, just copy paste.
Yeah,
come on, do it.
Just do it. Come on.
So if you're into Overwatch and you've been enjoying, I tried Doomfist.
Yeah,
Doomfist is fun. I am terrible at him, like really really bad at him. But one of the things that has kind of separated Overwatch from other titles that have come out in the first-person team-based shooter stuff is that they didn't have a deathmatch. All of it was objective-based, or how are we going to do this? And Jeff Kaplan has come out, and just a brief aside, Jeff does all of these like one-shot monologue, just him on camera, no cuts, no anything.
Yeah.
And as someone who has his own show.
Sure.
That's really hard and impressive.
Yeah, he does it in a very concise manner. I mean, he's on frame for 6 minutes, but the one shot, just being able to explain everything, not stumbling at all, not stuttering, being very terse with exactly what he wants to say, is fantastic in a way that I don't. So and it is really impressive.
Okay, so but the actual news out of it, deathmatch has never been a thing that they've had. Yeah. And at the very beginning, they're like, no, that's not what Overwatch is about. We're not doing that. We are
because everyone has
and a quote from Jeff: "We would never do that to Overwatch." So as part of this update, he said, never say never. We thought it might be fun now.
Yeah.
And so I really like the idea of the team deathmatch, which is you're trying to be the first team to 30 kills.
Yeah.
And so that will include teamwork, because if it comes down to just straight deathmatch, that I can't do that. The reason that I like Overwatch is because I'm not good at these other ones. Yeah. But team deathmatch and having Mercy's res be able to counteract and remove kills from the other team, no, that doesn't count. Yeah. You didn't do that to me.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like whenever kids are playing tag and stuff, like on the playground.
Yeah.
No, you didn't kill me. Yeah. And so that's a really exciting thing. I'm definitely going to jump in and see what it's about, because whenever they roll new stuff out, I try to jump in and just see if it's something that could bring me back full time into the game.
Definitely. Speaking of new things coming out, Gearbox announced a new game as well.
Yeah, and I will not be playing that one
because it's 1v1 shooter. It's a 1v1 competitive shooter, multiplayer shooter
with a card game element.
With a card game element. So this is ridiculously early on. I don't know exactly what they're working on with this, but
yeah,
I don't know how to feel about that. I feel like
you're allowed to feel ambivalent. That's fine.
Yeah,
and that's what I think that's what we feel right now. I think it's just
well,
that's a thing.
Yeah, well, Battleborn came out, and it came out around the same time as Overwatch. Yeah. And the biggest problem with Battleborn is not that it's a bad game. It's an okay game. Mm-hmm. I think that it could have been a lot better, but it was overshadowed by Overwatch.
Yeah.
And I think that the way that they looked at that was, well, we need to do something similar but different.
Yeah.
And their idea was, let's do 1v1, which I think is too limiting. It's way too limiting. I mean, having that option involved in games I think is great, like in regards to Rocket League. You can do a 1v1 match. You can do a 2v2.
I mean, Overwatch, you can do a 1v1.
Exactly.
And there's like 3 different kinds of 1v1s.
Yeah, and I think that, to me, so far it feels very limiting, unless I have to see how they're implementing this customizable card game aspect of it, because customizable card games are very 1v1. Yeah. So maybe that is how they're going to, I don't know, how it's going to balance out.
Bring something new.
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see how they bring new on that, but it is very different. Speaking of customizable card games, though, there is a new customizable card game that is being worked on that you play with a heart monitor.
Yeah, and this is just kind of my weird news story of the week, because I was doing that at one point. I was bringing up one weird news story, but this is really cool to me because basically it monitors your pulse, your heart rate, and it wants you to stay calm while you're doing all these crazy things, which I think is kind of awesome.
I think it's hilarious for people who get very anxious in regards to playing games, playing Overcooked and some other games. You have certain players.
I would not want to try to play Overcooked with a heart monitor on. No, thank you.
To me, I don't get worked up, but like I get a little worked up, but I don't freak out. Like Whitney and a few other people that I've played with, they'll play like 2 games of it, and they're like, I'm done. I can't take that anymore. There's too much pressure. I think that Dark Souls and retro games jaded me to the point where, like, if you die, it's like, all right, let's do it again.
Yeah,
let's do it again.
And the thing about that is you can't panic. And I would be interested. Like, I don't necessarily want it to kill me if I don't do it successfully, but I would be interested in knowing what my pulse rate is and how my body's reacting to these different things.
I think that's important as well, because I think the other aspect of it, just like in regards to alcohol and alcohol consumption, which a lot of people don't go into this when they talk about like how much alcohol can be consumed, how your body processes it, and how drunk you can get, and the effects of it depending on your body. Another aspect that they're diving into recently is, okay, but personality-wise, how it's not an overt like I'm gonna mask this and pretend that I'm not drunk or pretend that I'm not scared playing a video game like this or anxious.
There is a level where your higher functions in your brain are actually still maintaining.
And you won't realize physiological aspect of what's going on to your body, because you have a mind-body connection, but some people don't realize that's actually happening to them, because this is because the way that the brain works and in regards to emotion and stimuli is so, like, we're so in the infancies of understanding that some people you may be like, oh wow, he's always calm and collected and he's playing this game, and inside his heart rate's just as bad and he doesn't even realize. So that could be something as well that could be taking effect. I'm curious about that myself.
Yeah, and the difficulties in testing that, I think, is the biggest impediment to advancing in those fields. And like if you were say trying to cross a border, there might be other impediments, like the person who's taking your papers. Which is not a segue at all.
Not at all. But Papers, Please is a game.
Oh, yeah, that's a thing.
And going to be a short film.
And okay. If more games with a concept like that were taken and turned into short films, because there was a Portal short film that was really excellent and kind of encompassed a lot of the concepts, a lot of the feelings that were in there. I really like this idea.
I do too. I think
I'm absolutely gonna watch it.
I think certain games like that can translate their ideas very well, and it's different medium, but you can translate these emotions and what it feels like, especially with Papers, Please being a interesting game and an interesting subject. I think giving it to more people to understand, I think, is important.
And there's a lot of people who don't play games, but to be able to still have that discussion of the concepts and the ideas behind Papers, Please, and the difficulty therein. So I'm excited about that.
Speaking of difficult things, Xbox games they're changing the way that the achievements work in regards to Xbox.
Adding on to it,
yeah. And I've never been someone who chases like trophies and achievements. So if I have them, I have them.
There's been a couple of games where I've aimed for a platinum or just checked to see, what else do I need to do. Like a lot of times when I beat a game, I'll be like, what else can I do? Or, I've gone through a lot of the story, I check the trophy list and be like, okay, what are some other interesting things that I could do? And I feel like the developers can use achievements and trophies to push you to try something different in your game. This seems much more to address the people who are going to play the games, how they're going to play games, and focus on recognizing people who play games not for trophies or achievements. And
a smaller selection of games. People who only play a handful of games per year.
Right, but they bore down into those.
So if someone who what they have been playing for the past couple of years has been Destiny, or someone who plays Madden, Call of Duty, and that's all they play.
So if there was somebody who bought Call of Duty and Madden every year, and they just did those two games, but they went hardcore into them and got 1,000 gamer score every year.
Yeah.
At the end of that, they've got like 14,000, which is not that high.
It's not that much, even though they put in as many hours as other gamers to it. So I think it's cool that they're showing that recognition, because these people have put in work on these games, and up until now, in regards to how many trophies or how your achievement score has, it's specifically related to how many games are you playing. Yeah. How many different games are you playing? Yeah. Not are you a gamer?
Right. And my only question about this is people who have decided to do this, do they care?
So I don't think I don't think that they care about the height of their score. I think that they care about the achievement within the game, the specific game, because most of these people are not. I would not consider them casual gamers. I would consider it a different type of gaming where they like a specific subset of gaming. Yeah. Like we mentioned, Call of Duty and Madden, because a lot of those players play those games every year and they don't branch out a lot. Or maybe they play Madden and they also play one of the like MLB game or something to that effect, but they may play 4 games out of the year and they don't really care about the RPGs. And I don't think that they'll care about the higher score. I think what they care about is getting more points in a game and specific to their game.
I think it also could be used really well to encourage people to compare themselves to other people who game like them.
Yeah.
And that can be kind of a competition. Like the guy who had the highest Xbox achievement score for like years got married and lost that over the weekend, like a couple months ago. Yeah. And I thought that was kind of funny. But I mean, I'll take the points in real life. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
But my biggest question on that was, when did he find time to date?
She's got to be a gamer, or she doesn't mind hanging out and watching.
I don't know, maybe, but yeah. So if you're watching, reach out to me and let's chat.
Let's talk about how you balance dating and real life things in regards to that as well.
Because I mean, I can't even do that. It's hard. Balance is. I still maintain that balancing is one of the hardest things you have to deal with in real life.
Yeah, it is.
We love the Jackbox games.
Yes, we do.
We love them so much. And when the first Jackbox games came out, and it was like, hey, play games on your phone, I was like, okay, that's weird. But I tried it. But I tried it, and it's wonderful. Yeah. And like, I don't like all the games that they put on there, but consistently every pack has something special in it. And so Jackbox Party 4 is coming this fall, and it's also coming to Switch.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
And like, I just want more people to be able to play this because it's a really fun thing to be able to, like, hey, everybody grab your phones, let's ask and answer questions about stuff.
We played it for, I think, 3 hours during Chris's bachelor party. Because we were gonna play I felt bad because we were gonna play the Firefly board game and a couple other things. And we started playing Jackbox partially to get people into, like, all involved, because we have a bunch of people who play games a lot together, and then Manny and Morello, who were there, and they don't play a lot of games. They play some retro games. Yeah. They have played retro games, like Street Fighter 2. Like, okay, but we bring out the board game, and you could tell they were like, seemed like a daunting task to them. Yeah. So we're like, all right, well, let's play some Jackbox for a little bit.
Yeah, because it's very, very low barrier to entry, very easy. Everybody gets to have fun.
Yeah, and we played that for 3 hours. Then we played some other games. We didn't end up getting to play the Firefly board game, so we'll be playing that later on, Chris, I promise.
The Firefly board game is fun.
John, because John wanted to play that. I liked it too, and I think John, the 4 of us played it last time I played it, which I really liked. Speaking of things that I really like that are kind of old school, like board games, Cuphead's finally got a release date, which I have to bring up every now and then with Whitney to remind her, oh, this thing's coming out, because she seeing the animation, seeing the very Merry Melodies like look to the cartoon, to the characters, which like really sold it to her, and seeing the enemies and the ridiculous little dances that they do, which that they did in those old, like Merry Melodies and Popeye and very repetitive dancing like this. You can get away with that for 2 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if it's trying to attack you, it's less annoying, and I mean you see the pattern, and I don't know why no one ever thought of this, but like they have taken it and just elevated it to the utmost, and I cannot wait to play this.
And that'll be coming out September 29th. So I'm happy about that because it's a game that's been in development. We heard about this, 2.5 years ago? Was it 2 years ago?
At least.
Yeah, so we've heard about it for a while. We've been waiting for it for a while, which can be kind of backfire, can be a detriment, because some people may forget about it. I'm hoping that it lives up to the hype that I've hyped it, at least. Speaking of hype, though, No Man's Sky had a recent update from the developer, which is adding more and more to the gameplay. You're able to they're higher resolution, new biomes. They're also able to find wrecked freighters on planets and then salvage those, because it's like a derelict or spacecraft. You can go in and salvage out of it, and I don't think rescuing is part of that, because that always ends up in a bad way in space games. But you can also end up running into other players, which is the first time you're able to do this.
And that was something that they had talked about as a possibility, but then it just never showed up.
Well, it turned out it actually wasn't in the game, and they just said it was in the game. So now you'll be able to run into them. It also has space battles as well, which I haven't seen how exactly those work, but I think that's cool. Also, the terrain manipulation here, which is really cool. If you want to build out a bridge and you want it to be specifically made of dirt, or if you want to manipulate a little mountain that bothers you because you're building into something, and you like something there's the crash freighters as well, which I think it's really cool. This may get me to pick up the game and try it out now that there's actually more to do. So I would encourage you guys, if you have No Man's Sky, go check it out and let us know. A lot of this stuff looks really great. It's like a lot of really good additions to the game that if it came out this way, day one, everyone would have just loved it. Yeah. So let us know in the comments if you played No Man's Sky and what you think about it. And let us know if you're excited about Cuphead. And any news that we missed, point it out and make fun of us. We'll see you later.